Hi, and welcome back to Go Far Girl. Today we're here with Kay. Kay is a Canadian freelance writer and occasional voice actor who's been living in Japan for more than a decade. She writes about what it's like to raise a child in Japan and to travel with them on her website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo. You can find that link down in the description, so be sure and check that out so you can follow Kay's adventures through Japan and maybe plan your own adventures. So if you missed last week, you'll definitely want to go back and check that out. Kay was talking about how she ended up by living in Japan from Canada, what it's been like raising her daughter there, and all the juicy details of her life that she was so kind to share with us. But today she really wants to tell us about Japan itself and how you can get to Japan and what you should do while you're there and how to do it, because Japan is an amazing destination, but it really does feel very overwhelming for people, especially new travelers. So having someone who's been a tourist but also lives there now is going to be invaluable to your Japan traveling. So, Kay, welcome back. Thanks for being with us
Hi.
again.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about family travel. So your daughter is she a toddler, a young child now?
Yeah, she's 5 years old.
She's 5. Okay, so that's the age group that we're working with here.
Mhm.
So just for everyone listening, so what have been kind of your favorite destinations that you've gone to with your family, with your husband and your daughter?
Ah, well, obviously I like Osaka, but that's that's not necessarily a destination for me, but for other people, Osaka is absolutely amazing for kids. And I didn't realize that until I moved here. I find the city far less overwhelming compared to Tokyo. It's for me, it's easier to travel with my daughter, to go different places. There's lots of like indoor playgrounds, outdoor playgrounds, great places to eat. There's Universal Studios Japan. Um,
Oh yeah,
but
forgot about
yeah, apart from Osaka, I well, my family really likes Wakayama Prefecture, and I think
that.
not
Okay.
many people know about Wakayama. It's like still, I suppose, a bit of a hidden gem.
Ooh, tell us about
It's
it.
yeah, it's right next to Nara Prefecture, which is like right next to Nara and next to Osaka. So it's very easy to get there. It takes about 2 hours, but I think it's absolutely worth it. Um, so every summer we make sure to go on a trip to Wakayama, and we go to the beach because the water there is absolutely beautiful. It's some of the best I've sorry, it's some of the clearest I've seen in Japan so
Ooh.
far. And, they have World Heritage sites. They have this place called Kumano Kodo, which is a series of pilgrimage trails in Japan. And what else they have? They have Animal Kingdom, which is one of the few zoos in Japan where animals are really taken care of and they have plenty of space. So, yeah, we have a lot of fun going there.
Is the public transportation the way to do things in Japan, or do you
Mm.
drive? I mean, maybe you drive because you live there, but as a tourist, would you get a car or would you take a train? How do you get around?
It depends on where you want to go. If you want to stick to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, cities like that, you should definitely take public transportation. I do not recommend driving in those cities whatsoever.
Okay.
But if want to do a day trip somewhere, definitely consider renting a car. Um, it can be really tricky driving in Japan. Like as a Canadian, I'm so used to our wide, spacious roads, and I was so nervous to first drive here. Like it took me a little while to get used to it, and still I can't do certain certain paths. Like for instance, I cannot drive to like the center of Osaka because it's really overwhelming. The traffic is super crazy. um, and then when you get out to, the countryside, the roads are so small. And sometimes there'll be a road that's two ways, but like goes in both directions, but it's really the size of a one way. So
Ew.
if a car comes, one of you has to back out. And who knows how far you're going to be backing out until you find a spot where you can kind of like pull in and let the other car go. It's crazy.
That's so
But
stressful. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, yeah. So if you're like a very, very confident driver, rent a car.
Yeah.
If you're
If
not so
not,
confident, I don't know if I would recommend it.
well, you lost me at the backup part because I would just
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
panic attack. So
Yeah, just keeping it
I
real.
can go forward. Do you think that Japan is a good family-friendly destination overall, or would you recommend it more for, like, solo or couples, or do you really think, like, anybody can find their place traveling to Japan?
Oh, anybody. It's like for
Yeah.
all ages, I think. Although I will say that, maybe if you have a baby, it might be a little bit more challenging because you got the stroller and then you got the trains. And then for me, like when my daughter was a baby, I was quite nervous about taking the trains we were living in Tokyo at the time. And it was so overwhelming for me taking the trains with her that I just stayed home.
Yeah.
Um, but,
But that's
yeah,
kind of the
other
case in a big city,
yeah.
New York and LA. I mean, it's
Right,
always hectic
right.
for baby too, so, that makes sense, I guess, a big city like that and kind of the ins and outs of everything is just hectic.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why I on my blog, I have an article about whether or not to take a stroller, and, like, I recommend taking a baby carrier if you can, but I also see the benefits of taking a stroller, and I
Yeah.
guess it depends on the family.
There'll be so
But
much
yeah,
baggage for babies.
exactly, exactly, right? And then you're carrying
For
everything, you're
being
getting
so little,
sweaty, and
they
then, oh,
require so much.
yeah, exactly.
Is
Um,
that the main thing you didn't like about Tokyo, is the hecticness of it? Not that you didn't like it, but, like, why you chose to not live in Tokyo? Would it just because it was, like, just too chaotic all the time, too big?
Yeah, yeah. I lived there for 7 years, and we go back about once a year. And every time, actually, as a family, we go back once a year, but my husband goes back like almost every week for work. And every time both of us were like, no, like we're so glad
This
we
is not our
moved. It's just
place.
not for us. It's not for us. And,
Yeah.
and of course, they're city people. They thrive in those kind of environments, like, and that's great for them. But for us, no, it's too much.
One of my sons is 25 now, but he's always, "Oh, I just wanna live in a big city where I can, like, walk from
Mm,
work to a bar and
mhm,
then walk to my
mhm.
apartment," and I was like, "That sounds terrible. That sounds actually terrible." So maybe
Oh,
when
I
I was
know,
teenager,
yeah.
it would have been great, but, like, I don't wanna do any of those things.
Exactly, exactly. My husband and I, we thought the same thing when we were younger, when we were in our 20s, about the same age as your son. That's why we wanted to live in Tokyo. Of course, the
Yeah,
jobs are there. That's one big thing that took us there, but we were both like, yeah, the big city, like going out
and
every
there's always
night.
something to do and yeah,
Oh, yeah. And now
no,
no, like, I think even if we didn't have, a child, like, we would much prefer going to, like, a local park, going camping, like, we're those kind of people.
for sure, for sure, and it's funny how that evolves over time, right? Like, I
Mhm.
was I host women's trips, and I'm hosting this trip to France. We're doing Christmas markets in December, and, my mom is coming with us, and she said, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do to keep up with you guys because you're all so much younger than me, and you're gonna just wanna be up all night," and I said, "Mother, my itineraries are not going past 9 PM, ma'am.
No, no.
We are resting.
Yes,
There
yes,
will be plenty of
absolutely.
bathroom breaks and resting. We are not
Yep,
doing
yep.
that." Like, whereas even
Yep.
just, like, 10 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, we gotta do this and this and this and this and this," and now I'm like, nah,
Yeah,
next time."
exactly, and yeah, when you mention resting, like, that is what I wanna do on a trip. Like, I wanna see maybe a few things, but I also wanna relax and enjoy myself. I don't wanna come back from a trip more exhausted than I was when I left.
No, exactly. So wait, I just thought of this. This isn't what we were gonna talk about, but where do
Mm.
people in Japan go for vacation? Like, where's, like, the big destination? Like, Australia? Or, like, where do people go?
Ah, internationally, Hawaii is a big one. Japanese people love
Oh,
Hawaii. So we
okay.
actually went last year, and then our neighbors went this year. They just went I think 2 months ago. So yeah, people get married there a lot. Hawaii's big. Um,
Okay.
where else? Australia, definitely, because it's so close by. People go
Mhm.
to South Korea. South Korea is a big one.
Oh.
Yeah, people, it's, mainly, women who go there for, the cosmetics and the food
Mm.
and what, K-pop?
Skincare.
Yeah.
K-pop.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that just popped into my head because I think about that when I travel somewhere. Like, I'll go to the Caribbean, and I was like, "Man, you get to live here." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's a small island. It gets old after a
Mhm.
while." And I was like, "Oh, that's true. So where do you go?" And he's like, "To, like, where you live." And I was like, "That's sad. I'm sorry." Like,
I don't know. No, I mean, America, like, I've been to America a few times, but I'm Canadian, so like, yeah, I
yeah.
guess from the perspective of Japanese people though, like I, I think they love visiting America. Like my in-laws they went to America for their honeymoon, San Francisco.
Interesting. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, see? I never would have thought. Huh. Fun. Okay, well, I just had to throw that in there because it popped in my head.
No, it's a good question, definitely.
So, just kinda get a little insight into, what other people think and see. Because when you are somewhere, of course, it's not exotic or enticing, you just wanna get the heck away usually, so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like personally, like because I live in Japan, like I would love to go abroad more. But especially Europe. I love Europe, but unfortunately plane tickets are very expensive.
Are
So
they?
they're just going up and up and up. So yeah,
Yeah.
we
Is
stay
living
domestic.
expensive in Japan, would you say?
Not really. If Obviously Tokyo is very expensive. It really
Okay.
depends on, where you live. If you live in the center of a big city like Osaka or Tokyo, the rent is going to be a bit more, and, restaurants and groceries can be a little bit more expensive. And then when you go out to the countryside, it's really, really affordable, but it's really, really inconvenient. But I
Gotcha.
think compared to Canada, it's definitely more affordable to uh, live in Japan.
Okay. I love that. What would you say to a traveler? So, what would be like the right amount of time for a vacation? Which I know we would say indefinitely,
Mm.
like just come here forever.
Mhm.
But can
Mhm.
you do a vacation justice in 10 days, 14 days? I mean, how many places would you go? Kind
Mm.
of what if I've never been there and I said, okay, help me plan a trip. What would you tell me?
Mm.
Because
Well,
actually I want to plan a
yeah.
trip. So.
I see, I see. I mean, I think minimum 14 days, because you're
Okay.
flying all the way here, right? And
Right.
you want
Right.
some time to kind of adjust to the time difference and maybe, take it easy on some days. Like it really depends on what you want to do. But I also recommend not trying to do it all. It can be so tempting, especially with social media, just like, the
I
Japan
know.
influencers saying, go here, go here, go here. Like, and then
Right.
you'll have this like fear of missing out. Oh, I didn't go there. I should have gone. So,
Well, especially like you
but
said, it's so far away, right? Like
yes.
it's, a huge flight,
Yeah.
over a day to get there and then a day to get back. And then like you said, the time difference, I'm 16 hours behind you. So
Hmm.
that's difficult to adjust to too. So you do need to factor in that time. Do
Hmm.
you see influencers and things like that telling people to go places and you're like, that's a tourist trap, don't go there? Or
You know,
like, what are the
yeah,
tips?
no, yeah, I did. I don't really actually completely stopped using social media this year. It's like a little bit of a test and see how I'm doing without it. So I don't
I
know
love that
what's
for you.
trending right now. And actually, I tried not to, yeah, in general, even last year, I tried not to use social media very much. Um, but my friends, they sometimes I would go, for instance, visit my friend in Kyoto. She's living there, and at the time, she also used social media. She stopped recently as well, but she was like, "Oh yeah, this one restaurant. It's like really somebody living in Japan recommended it, like an influencer. So why don't we go check it out?" And it was really disappointing. um, and yeah, I think these places get hyped sometimes unnecessarily, or people are getting paid to promote it, or they just want content. And then these places get flooded because you're not, it's not just one person watching this video. It's probably thousands and
Right.
thousands of people, especially if the influencer is very popular.
And I think
So,
then places lose their authenticity too, because they
yes.
can't keep up with the people being there, or they just don't care as much because 'cause they're still making
Mm,
money. So I think that it sort of has this
exactly.
kind of spiral effect as well
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not always
exactly. And
healthy.
right, like, seeing, I don't know, restaurants making foods that are like aesthetically pleasing but don't taste good. Like to me,
Yeah.
it's a little
That's so
silly.
disappointing. I
Just
know.
right. And it makes my daughter, I guess she's happy. She's 5 years old, so she likes things like that. Going to like the Pokemon Cafe. Actually, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the Pokemon Cafe. I thought it would be
Yeah.
worse because I had very low expectations. But it was better than I thought it would be. But yeah, I think for me, okay, when you're first visiting Japan, like I think it's good to go to the famous spots because they're famous for a reason. And I'm talking about very traditional famous spots like in Kyoto, Kiyomizu-dera, right? It's one of the most famous
Right.
temples like in the world. Um, go, but just be prepared for the crowds. But if you go like, super early or if you go like super late, there's going to be less people. So, if I guess it's easier to plan your time accordingly if you don't have kids because kids run on their own schedule.
For sure, for sure.
Mm,
Is there a time of year that you think is the best, well, probably the best weather is gonna be the highest cost and the most
mm,
people too. So is there a
mm,
time you would recommend not to come? Like, does it get too hot? Does it get too
yeah.
rainy? Does it
Mm. Yeah, well, June is rainy season, but recently it's kind of been all over the place. And I feel like climate change is, playing a role when it
Yeah,
comes to that. So I guess we'll see this year how rainy June is going to be. It's not as, what is it, consistent as it used to be. Like, I feel like last year in the beginning of July, it was like raining like crazy when you usually expect that in June. Um, uh, but when it comes to the season, I absolutely do not recommend people visit Japan. It is summer. Summer, so that lasts from about July until September, October.
okay.
Usually summer ended, in beginning of September. But recently it's just been longer and longer and longer. And I remember October, I was still in my summer clothes, like sweating. It was awful.
Is
We
it
just stay
humid?
inside.
Is it
It's very
muggy and humid?
humid.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
that's the
yes.
worst.
Yeah, like it's cloying, right? Your clothes are just like stuck to you. So like we
Yeah.
don't go out. Like I try, like I try to take my daughter to like water parks and things like that, and she doesn't want to go. She says like, "No, I don't want to go outside." I'm like, okay, and it's really
Fair.
sad because I want her to get fresh air, but
Interesting. And then how are winters? I guess that depends on where in
hmm.
Japan you are though too.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually like the winter. Like, I think the only downside is one of the things I really, really love about, the Kansai area where, Osaka, Kyoto are located are the mountains. They have these beautiful, like, rolling green mountains. And in the winter, it's like not as stunning. But especially in I think January and February, there are not nearly as many tourists. It's a low season, so and I think in February you can see lots of plum blossoms, which
ooh.
are very beautiful. So if you don't mind it being like a tiny bit nippy, uh, and it's snowing sometimes, definitely like come in January, February.
See, I love that so much. I would rather sacrifice perfect weather for less people any day of
Hmm.
the week.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
you're definitely gonna get that.
mm,
Yeah, in February. Oh, but don't come during Chinese New Year. And
oh, okay.
I'm hoping I'm saying that like politically
No,
politically
that's what
correct
yeah, you're
way.
fine.
Okay, Lunar New Year, because
Yeah.
our neighbors, they it's their vacation period, so a lot of them come too. So yeah, just trying to look at when are the vacation periods for people in South Korea or Singapore or China, Hong Kong, because a lot of visitors to Japan come from there.
See, and that's something I hadn't thought about is other people having different schedule yeah, because I was just thinking, like, I'll probably avoid cherry blossom peak because that would be hectic,
Mm.
and,
Mhm.
you know, even though it's of course, it's hectic for a reason, right? Because it's beautiful and people wanna see
Mhm.
it, but
Mhm.
I just feel like when I go somewhere that far, I'd
Mhm.
rather have less chaos and be able to see
Yeah.
more in a way because you can really experience it and just be there and not just be fighting, like, queues
Oh
and
yeah.
traffic the whole time.
Exactly, exactly. Actually, right now is a good time. Golden Week just ended. That's like a series of national holidays in Japan and also in China. Last week I went to Universal Studios Japan with my daughter. Last week, yes, last week. And I'm trying to remember. And it was the emptiest I'd seen it in a very, very long time. Um,
Interesting.
there's surprisingly not that many people, not that many travelers. So also, probably because cherry blossom season ended as well. So,
Everyone's leaving.
yeah, exactly.
Now you can go back to having a good life and going where you wanna go.
Yeah, exactly.
So you told us about one hidden gem. Do you have another, like,
Mm.
kind of top secret spot that you think people don't
Mm.
read about, but they should definitely go?
Well, I really like, where do I like? I like Awajishima. So, Awajishima is a small island that's located in Hyogo Prefecture. And, the water there is like really beautiful. But I actually don't go there for swimming. It's a place I actually like to drive to. So yeah, it's one of those destinations that you need a car to get to.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I'm trying to think about places where you don't need a car, I would actually recommend going to Yamaguchi Prefecture.
Okay.
And that's where I lived when I was on the JET program. That is the place where I really, really fell in love with Japan because it's a side of Japan not many people see, but to me, it's a very authentic side of Japan, like not touristy. This is like how Japanese people live. It has lots of, you know, famous temples and shrines. It's very, very beautiful. My family, they visited me twice. And, they've been to Tokyo, they've been to Hiroshima, Osaka, Kyoto, Nara. They said Yamaguchi was their favorite place.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't written about it yet on my blog because I haven't taken my daughter. Um,
Oh, well, now
but
you
yeah,
have a
I feel like,
project.
yeah, right, exactly. I'm like, maybe I should write about Yamaguchi now because I do know places, know lots of places.
I love that. Well, anything else you wanna share with us about your love for Japan or any places that we've not talked about that we should? What about food? Do you have to be pretty
Mm.
adventurous for food when you're coming from somewhere, or how do you
No,
know where to eat?
thankfully, yeah, Japan is really great when it comes to offering like tons of different kinds of food. Obviously, the more you go to a remote area, the less you'll find maybe Western dishes. But you
Mhm.
can find anything, basically anything you want to eat. Like, I don't live in the center of the city at all. Like, we actually live in kind of like well, we live in the suburbs of
Okay.
Osaka, like very suburbs area. Um, and within like 15 minutes of where we live, there's like Vietnamese food and Thai food and lots of Italian restaurants. Like anything, anything you want, you can probably find it. Although yeah, yeah. What is something I haven't been able? Oh, well, of course I'm Canadian. I haven't been able to find good poutine here. I think I want some Canadian
Um,
person to move here and make an authentic like poutine restaurant.
just make like
I need that.
bring some ketchup fries with you when you come.
Exactly, exactly.
That's funny. I had, No, I can't remember, but I had poutine in Nashville of all places, but we were at an Indian restaurant in Nashville,
Oh,
and
that's
so they
interesting.
had tried to, like, combine, like, poutine with Indian plus make it Southern, and it was just this very odd, like, combination, and I remember thinking, "Now I kinda just want poutine."
Yeah, yeah, the real thing. But yeah, when you
Yeah,
mention
because
these
it was
odd
kind of like, "Well, we're
combinations,
gonna." Yeah, it was
sorry,
a lot going
yeah,
on. It was a lot.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, when you mention like odd combinations, a lot going on, like you might actually find that, well, you will probably find that when you're in Japan. Like for instance, like pizza, there'll be um mayonnaise corn pizza is a very
No.
popular dish for especially
No.
for kids. Yeah, so on like kids
Man,
menus, like my daughter loves it. And I'm like, I wish she didn't,
no.
but you know, what are you gonna do? Yeah, so things like that. Um, uh, they have like Neapolitan pasta, but it's made with ketchup.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, ketchup and like green peppers
Okay.
and wieners. Like, yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
definitely you'll see some spins on traditional dishes.
We ordered a pizza in Slovenia, and we didn't know what was on it, and it was it was tuna fish, sliced up hot dogs, and nacho cheese in the middle, and we were like, "Oh,
What?
okay. Didn't see any of that coming, but great, let's try
No.
it."
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. You're exposed to like new kinds of foods, and yeah, if you're not a picky eater, then it's a good experience. But even if you're a picky
Yeah,
eater, like you can find things you can eat here. Just make sure you use the Google Translate app. Like, back in the day, we didn't have that luxury, so a lot of things were
right.
surprises.
Well, and I tend to just go somewhere and have the waiter or waitress just give me whatever they want because otherwise I don't know what to choose, and that's how we ended up with that weirdo pizza. But, I'll just say, "Get me your favorite thing," and then I'll try it.
Mm.
Um,
But see, that's
so
another
I d
thing. In Japan, oh, sorry. Yeah.
no, go for it.
Oh, yeah. In Japan, if you go to a restaurant and if it's like, maybe like a bigger restaurant, a chain restaurant where, you can't really see the owner anywhere or anything like that. If you ask the waiter, like, give me like your favorite dish or a recommendation or something, like sometimes they'll just point out to recommended items on the menu. They will usually not tell you what they personally like.
Interesting, because that goes
Yeah.
back to that, what you were saying on the last episode that you just
Right,
kinda have to
right.
get inside their mind and guess.
Right, exactly. Like people will not, especially like this staff working at a store will not say what they actually like feel. Well, what's
Interesting.
actually on their mind. Yeah.
Yeah. That would drive my anxiety crazy. I think that would be a hard thing for me to get used to because I'm always kind of inside my head anyways, wondering what people are thinking or if they're being, authentic. So that would kind of drive me crazy, I think.
Mm.
But I guess once you know it's there, then it's not about
Mhm.
you, and then it's maybe a
Right,
little less
exactly.
abrasive.
Right,
But
right. It's never about you. Like they're playing, their part, right? Like
right,
their,
right,
I guess, role as a staff in a store or a
yeah,
restaurant and just doing their job.
so you have
But
to
yeah,
get that.
yeah, yeah, you end up kind of missing those, like, when you go to restaurants in North America, like you can have like casual like chit chat or whatever with the
Yes,
waiter, and they'll bring up something like totally random about their life, and you're like, oh, okay, but it's fun,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. You usually will not get that in Japan.
Small talk in general,
Small talk,
not so
yes,
much.
small talk. Yeah, no, no.
Do people smile? Because when we were in Slovenia
Yes.
and I smiled at
Hmm.
people, they thought I was a psychopath. Like, they're very
That's
friendly,
good to
they were very
know.
kind, but don't just, like, look at me and smile because that's scary. Like, I was like, "Okay, sorry."
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the middle of, you know what? I don't smile at people anymore. Like in the
See?
middle of the street and stuff. So like I don't
Yeah.
even know if I recognize if people are smiling, like the service staff, they'll smile for sure, but in the middle of the street, like people, no, I don't think they will.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
'Cause, I didn't smile when I was in California, but now that I live in Washington, everyone's like really weirdly friendly, and, like, we'd be on a hike, and people would be like, "Hi, how's it going?" And for a while, I thought they were gonna just murder me. I was like, "Why are you talking to me? Don't look at me weird." But now, like, I smile and talk
Mhm.
to people, and now when I'm other places, they're like, "Hi, don't look at me like that, please." And I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Oh. Well, actually, when you're hiking, if you're hiking, Japanese people will like smile to you and they'll say konnichiwa. So yeah,
Okay.
it's context. It's very contextual. It really depends on
Well,
like where
that's good
you
to
are.
know then because I wanna do some hikes while I'm there, so that's good to know I'm
Yes,
allowed to speak then.
yes, yes. When you're hiking, definitely if you see somebody passing by, say konnichiwa and bow a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and bowing. So do we bow is that a greeting that's just respectful? Do you do that when you meet someone always?
Um. Yeah. I mean, when like in the workforce, if you meet somebody for the first time and you exchange like business cards, yes, you bow.
Okay.
Hiking, yes, you do a little bow, not a deep one, just a tiny like nod
Right.
of your head,
It's a nod.
basically.
Yeah.
Right. But otherwise, you don't really need to bow unless you're like ask a really big favor of like the service staff or something. And then you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And they're like, please, can you do this for me? And do like a little tiny head bow.
Okay. Okay.
The tiny
See,
head
those are
bow is a
the
good one.
that just always go with it if in
Yeah.
doubt. Okay.
Yes, yes. Whenever in doubt, tiny head bow.
Well, I love that. And, that sounds good. So those are the kind of things that I like to know before I go somewhere because 'cause you're already gonna stand out, obviously, right? People know you're a
Mhm,
tourist, but
mhm,
I always wanna
mhm,
be respectful and at least have, like, the basics of your culture to be understood. That way I'm just not being an
mhm.
obnoxious tourist that, you know.
Oh, I mean, just speaking to you, I know you're definitely far, 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 far from an obnoxious tourist. You're gonna be completely fine.
Sometimes I get, like, secondhand embarrassment from seeing other people the way they act around places, and they're like, "Well, that's not how we
Mhm.
do it in Kentucky," and I'm like, "Well, go back to Kentucky because
Yeah.
that is not
Yeah,
what we're
yeah,
doing right
yeah.
here." Well,
Yeah, as
I
long
love
as,
this so
you're
much,
polite and respectful, I think you're gonna be completely fine.
and I think that's half the battle no matter where you live or where you visit, just trying to
Exactly.
be respectful and not expect everyone to do it your way and understand that, there's different ways of doing things. And that's what makes traveling
Mhm.
fun to me too, is learning those different
Yeah.
things and picking up kind of those little different habits and fun little things like that. So
Mhm.
I think that's awesome. Well, I will definitely have to be stalking your blog as I plan this trip
Mhm.
and probably hit you with a couple emails as I get my itinerary going so you can check it
Oh,
off
yes,
for me
please
and make sure
do.
I'm doing the right things. But
Yeah.
it's definitely somewhere I'd like to go, if not next year, the year after, but I'm hoping for next year, so and I think
Mhm.
that a lot of the people that listening to this podcast are gonna wanna come with me, so I'll probably just make it a women's group trip,
Oh, that
for
sounds fun.
2026, and so, yeah, hint, hint, anyone wants to do that, leave it in the comments, and I'll sign you up.
Mhm.
So, yeah, thank you so much for talking with us again, you've given us so much of your time, and I really appreciate that so very much. For our listeners, just want again want to remind you that Kay's website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo description, will have the link. So go ahead and follow her there. She's not on socials, so that's okay. Just follow her on her blog. And if you've been waiting for the perfect time to plan your Japan trip, I think this is a sign from the universe that this is it. All right, Kay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right.